Today's video is more delving into finishing. I showed you how to polyspan, and I'm thinking that instead of putting this together, I'm going to go ahead and completely finish the wing, primer and all, ready to paint before I install it. I'm probably going to do that to these pieces as well. So what we have here is the elevator stabilizer grouping, and it weighs 2.5 ounces. It has 3 coats of dope on it, and it's been sanded every time with 320. I'm going to apply the silk span today to both sides of this and 3 more coats of dope. So the first thing we need to look at is the silk span, and there is 2 sides to silk span, and you want to do just like the polyspan. You want to put the shiny side up. It will take less dope to fill if you put the shiny side up. Now we're still on our original quart of dope that I showed you, that I mixed, that I added thinner to. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take some Windex and I'm going to spray it. You got to kind of do this quickly because this thing will warp because you got it wet. And you got to make sure you do both sides equally the same, or you will end up with a warped part, and we do not like warped. So you get the silk span on it. I can tell already I don't like Brodak silk span, but that's what I have to work with. Just don't work like K&S, but we'll see if we can get it on right. We're pulling the wrinkles out of it and wiping it down. All these modeling processes that I'm showing you are fairly easy. It takes a little practice, and you have to, watch my video and do it. I can't teach you how to sand on the video. There just is no possible way, and it is warping already, by the way. So now we're going to put a coat of dope on it. And we'll have to let it dry so we can turn it over and cut the silk span, and then get the other side of silk span on at the same time. And then when we're doing it, we want to do a coat of dope on each side at the same time. Very important that you put the same amount of dope on both sides. Otherwise, it will warp. Especially when the airframes are as light as that I build them. 2.5 ounces for a 30-inch stabilizer is quite good. So now, we'll get your scalpel, and we're going to remove the excess silk span off of it. You can use razor blades, X-Acto knives, whatever. I just wanted to kind of show this, to show you how long it takes to do this. It's not a big mystery. The finish is not in how much paint you put on, but how much paint you sand off. Okay. Now we're going to do the other side. First we look at which side is the shiny side of the soak span. This is the top side of the stabilizer. I use Windex because it has alcohol in it and it dries faster. You can use water. My way is not the only way, it is just a way. And it has always worked for me. Everything I show you on these videos is tried and true. I'm not doing any experimenting on the videos because I don't want to be called out on experimenting. Smooth all the bubbles out. Yeah. This soap span doesn't act like the old stuff. But it's going on. We'll get it. Can't have, you know, I've never used this type soak span before, but that doesn't mean that it won't work. Just have to finesse it a little more. And it laid right down. So now we're back with our dope. And it gets one coat on this side. That's this dope is about 60-40 now, because we're continually adding thinner to it. It looks like I'm going to have to add some more because the thinner is evaporating from leaving the can open, but this is still our original pint of raw 100% dope. And that's it. We'll let that dry, come back in a few minutes, trim it up, and I'll put another coat of dope on both sides. I usually hold it in my hand, unless you have some way to hang it from the ceiling or whatever. I guess you could put a stick pin in it, put a loop and a string on it. But you want to definitely do both sides at the same time so it doesn't pull into a warp. These everything's been coated with three coats. And you want to sand. You'll notice I'm sanding the, just lightly sanding the lumps off of it. because those lumps will transfer into the covering. And you'll make it harder on yourself to smooth the covering out if you don't have the substrate smooth. 320. You know, I don't think it's necessary to sand with 600 at this stage of the game. I know there are some that do. I just think it's a waste of breath. 320 is plenty fine enough for substrate and for blending. We'll move to 400 as closer we get to the top coats. Then 600, 1200, 2000, and finally sanded with 5000. That feels pretty good. I guess we'll sand this up here too. Oh, I think I already got it. Already did this one. Part of this finishing regiment that I'm doing is you have to stick by your guns. 3 coats, cover, 3 coats, apply the clear, apply the base color, trim, 3 coats of clear, and that's it. So otherwise you're going to end up with a model that's really heavy. Make sure it's, yeah, see, it went back straight, so that's a good thing. So we'll trim it up. Now remember what I said about wrapping. I want to wrap around the leading edge. I can't do the trailing edge of these particular parts because they're concave. It's pocket hinges I'm running on these. But that's okay. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. So I'm cutting it down 1/4 of an inch away from the top. We're going to pull that around to the bottom so that the leading edge is completely wrapped, if that makes sense. Trailing edge can't be wrapped, but the leading edge can be. And if I were doing a stabilizer that had a flat back, I'd be wrapping the trailing edge as well on the trailing edge. Okay. What I mean by that is, you see how this is hung up? We're going to dope it down to the bottom side. That way we won't have any chance of grain showing on the leading edge or anything goofy. And now we just let that dry, and then we'll start doing our coats of dope on there. So that's how I cover these pieces, and it follows suits with the elevators and the flaps. And we'll get all them covered up. I think I'm going to make a run over to Napa Auto Body, pick up a case of DC 540. We're going to be taping off this. I'm going to prime the wing. And I worked on it last night to get it ready. Where I've blended the, I don't know what you call these little tabs on the outer ends of the wing, but blended those in. I have a low spot on the trailing edge over here. I filled that and blocked that in. Had a low spot there. Just kind of fixing any little imperfections. It really didn't pick up any weight adding that little bit of filler. But I do want to, I think, tape and prime all the exposed wood and get it ready to go. And maybe I'll even spray a coat of clear, and we'll get, after I get the primer sanded and done, we'll start the spraying evolution. Because sooner or later I got to switch to spray. You can't keep brushing. The first 3 coats is all I can do with a brush. Then I have to go to spray, or otherwise you have a brush paint job, which can be done and done nicely, but it's a lot of work. And I said it before, and it's absolutely 100% true. If you can do a nice paint job with a brush, what makes you think you can't put it on with a bug sprayer and it look nice? It's in the sanding. Bug sprayer it on and then sand it and buff it, and it will look just fine. The application is the delivery vehicle is not the important thing. It's the sanding. Now the delivery vehicle, if you got a nice SATA gun or DeVelvis or something, it makes it a lot easier, but it can be put on with whatever dope can, as long as you're willing to sand. The urethanes I don't believe can be put on with a bug sprayer or a brush or whatever, but all the lacquers can. Because it was many years they did not spray lacquer. They just brushed it, and as long as you got enough on it, you're willing to sand it and block it and buff it, it looks just like glass. But it's a lot of work. So make it easier on yourself. Get some Harbor Freight equipment, if nothing else. I mean, yeah, it's not top of the line, but you're not painting a Porsche, you're painting a model. So a $25 Harbor Freight gun, or matter of fact, I think they're only about $10, will do just fine for our purpose. So now I'm cleaning up the edges with some sandpaper. This is 320 now. Getting any of the excess off I missed with the cutting of it. That cleaned up real good. I'm kind of anxious to see how much weight we picked up, because I know it was 2.5 ounces. Before starting to finish. Now it's kind of wet now, so I know that it would be heavier now than if it was dry, but we'll wait till it's dry and get it on the scale and see what it picked up. Okay, let's do our first coat, and then I'm going to cut the video while it dries. I'll show you how I achieve the both side painting. Put your thumb on the center. We're going to paint up to your thumb, so you got a place to hold it. Turn it over. I have a center line on this, so I don't need to put my thumb on it. Make sure the leading edge is down and the tips are down. All the air bubbles are out of it. Okay, that's both sides of one half. And we'll let that dry. And then I'll turn around and do the other side. The reason why I do that is I don't have to hold it now. I can set it right here like so and let it dry. So, cut the camera. When I got something else to report, I'll get back to you. But finishing is just a matter of repetition, patience, and lots of sanding. Be ready to sand, or you ain't gonna have nothing. So we'll see you in a bit.